Have you ever been so stuck, frustrated, uncertain? Maybe your world seems in chaos and you just can't understand why? Maybe it's you're anxious and it's anxiety that is taking over and not allowing you to do the things that you might otherwise normally easily be able to do. And yet, for some reason, you seem to be stuck. I think it's a challenge that we all face. And we're going to talk about it today on episode 874 of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Hey, Tom.
Good morning again,
Hey,
Bob.
I feel like we've done this a couple times lately.
I feel like I've said good morning 3 times due to that.
That's it. So, folks, this is a recorded episode. Unfortunately, I have a conflict today. So we're recording this episode. That means your comments, while we would love to have you put your comments, they're not going to appear on the program, but we will still respond, one of us or both of us, as soon as we see them. So feel free. You never know. Someone might see your comment and go, now it makes sense to me.
So true. So true.
So
should
true.
we just dive right into it?
Go
I guess
for it.
we already did. So good morning and welcome to today's Antidote, or good afternoon or good evening, depending on when you happen to be catching the show or the podcast. This is today's Antidote, our daily weekday broadcast and podcast, where we have a conversation around a topic. And as I mentioned at the beginning, our topic this week is anxiety. And today we're going to talk about its impact and how that has an impact on us. So as you think about that, if you have any thoughts or ideas you'd like to share, as Bob said, please feel free to put them in the comments as we go through that conversation. And others will be able to see them as well, and we can go back and check. So please feel free to share your value. At the conclusion of the conversation around our topic, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our today's antidote. That thing that we hope will help you if you happen to be dealing with some anxiety and it's gotten you stuck, overwhelmed, uncertain, feeling a little less confident, all of those things that can happen to us at any time during the course of our day. We hope that you'll be able to leverage this value that we share to get unstuck and be able to move forward with some confidence and control, as well as some clarity. So if you also have a one thing that you would like to share, sorry, I forgot what I had said and hadn't said. If you have one thing you'd like to share, please feel free to share that as well, because we know it'll add value for someone else out there who might be desperately seeking the value that you share. Before we do dive into the conversation, though, each morning, Bob and I share our celebrations. Are you ready, Bob? What's your celebration?
I'm ready. I'm going to celebrate the fact that I met a person through a networking event probably 4 years ago, almost 5 years ago, I think. And we've run into each other probably 8 or 10 times over that 5 years. He came up to me the other day at an event and said, "Hey, I always think about what you say. And I really want to talk to you about what you might be able to do to help me." And I would not have thought this would be a person that would be interested, because I never really had a deep discussion with them, but we've run into each other and we've talked a couple of times. But it's always nice. We so often I hear people say, well, I go to these networking events and I say what I say and no one pays attention. I think they do more than we realize. And it's about going there and being really passionate about what you do. I think that, he said to me, I love that you always come with a focus on what you're trying to do and how you help people. And that really made me think about how you could help me. And so for those of you who go to the network events, just like, I got to do my elevator pitch. Hi, I'm Bob Graham and blah, blah, blah. And you just sort of phone it in. I think that doesn't reward you as much as when you go there and you're actually into it and passionate and really share what matters to you. So a celebration and a tidbit of hint.
A tidbit of hint or a
A
tidbit of,
hint. I don't know. Tidbit hint's pretty bad.
I don't know. I like that. That's great. It's nice when that happens. Well, I think there's a difference between sharing your value and repeating a statement.
Yeah.
That tells what you do typically. And I think that people can see through that. And when you aren't sharing your value, you're just talking. People tend to pay attention less. So
talking at people versus with them.
Yeah.
Would be how I would say it.
Okay. I like that celebration. And it's always fun to hear those things. And that's the funny thing is I think we think no one listens, and yet people typically listen more than we think. That's great. So my celebration today for this Wednesday is that this morning, one of the reasons we're taping the show is I have 2 other conflicts happening at the same time. And again, through the help of others, I'm able to figure out how to get it done. We have a lacrosse tournament and I have a work presentation facilitation that I have to do. And because I was able to find some additional people to speak at the presentation, I only have to do part of it. And I have someone else who's going to help me sort of oversee the event so I can step away to do the part that I need to do for the presentation. So I'm appreciative of the help that others provide us that allow us to do all the things that we want and need to do.
I like it.
Yes.
Nice. Good to have other people that can help us achieve our goals.
Yes. And hopefully it helps us eliminate some of the anxiety, the impact the anxiety will have on us.
Ooh, I see how you wrote that into it really smoothly. And now I'm making fun of it, even though it was so subtle.
And calling it out. Kind of like saying, do you see what you did there?
I was listening to a comedian over the weekend, and he did that twice.
He said, do you see what I did there?
Uh-huh.
Or did somebody in the audience say?
No, he did.
Somebody in the audience didn't say, do you see what you did there?
No, he pointed out.
For those of you who don't know, when we first started this show, and probably through about 75 episodes, for some reason, Bob needed to let us know when he was making I don't even know what you would call it, but a subtle transition or a subtle innuendo or something that he didn't think we would got. And so he would say, do you see what I did there? And I would be like, yeah, I did. I think others did as well. But thanks for sharing. And thanks for sharing. So.
Good times.
Oh, yes. See how we've transitioned the show. It only took 874 episodes for us to get to a certain place that I'm sure we'll look back at episode 1874 and say, see what we've come since then.
Okay.
Anyhow, this is giving you anxiety, isn't it?
It is. So the impact of anxiety.
Yeah, why don't you talk about that?
Topic I know all too well. It can get in our way. It can slow us down. It can cause us to worry about things we don't need to worry about. It can cause us to make bad decisions. It can cause us to react unfavorably to situations. It can cause us to, what else?
Well, it's interesting. I would say that it can cause us to qualify things that don't necessarily need to be qualified, like decisions.
Okay.
And call them bad rather than just they were a decision. What do you think about that?
I think that's the ideal to overcome anxiety, is to be able to make decisions without.
Well, we're going to talk about that on Friday.
Okay, never mind. So I think the impact of anxiety is very deep for most of us. It can totally ruin a day. It can ruin a weekend. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do Monday. Oh, I've got to talk to this person. It's a customer. They're really upset. Or I've got to lead my staff meeting and the person who's always there isn't there. Or my boss is coming. I heard someone say that to me a couple weeks ago. my boss never comes to our staff meeting, and he's coming to today's meeting. I was like, okay. And, well, I don't want him to see. What if someone says the wrong thing? Like, okay. So they were going to go to everyone and tell them in advance, don't say the wrong thing.
Which pretty much saying, don't say anything.
Right. It'd be a short meeting.
And then also be like, how come nobody's sharing anything else?
That's right.
Like,
why do you have this meeting again?
Right. What's the point?
But the anxiety around the boss being there, and what if the boss wants to say something at the beginning? And what if my employees are like they always are? Because we joke around at those meetings, and we it's not the most serious thing. And I said to the person, well, you have an agenda. And they're like, no, not usually, but we will for this one. So I would liken it to when your boss, when you were teaching, when you teach, you usually have your bosses come through and they watch you do a teaching lesson. Amazing how everything is so perfectly planned, and you have the lesson objectives and you have the handouts. Everything's perfect. There are no typos. That's like one day of a school year. And the students are really funny because they know it's a game. They know that the principal's in the back of the room and you go through it because you're anxious. I remember I was teaching in high school and I got evaluated, and it was like, oh, what if I do the wrong thing? What if I was teaching a grammar lesson and it was kind of complicated? And it's like, what if I say the wrong thing? What if I write the wrong thing on the board? And the students afterwards, 3 students came up to me after class. They're like, you were really scared, weren't you? They could see that I wasn't my normal self. And as a result, it probably wasn't one of the better lessons I taught, because I was so worried about the things that I wasn't, am I writing on the board? Is my handwriting legible? Am I using the right color chalk? Can everyone see? Am I blocking it? I mean, there were a million things going through my head throughout that lesson, even though I did lessons 5 times a day, every day for 140 days. It was just that one, because it was being evaluated, drew anxiety because its impact. And the impact of that was I wasn't myself. I was kind of the Bob that he thought he had to be to get the principal to think I did a good job. Even though the principal had heard all through his school year, oh, he's really great. He teaches grammar really well. Students really like him. They're writing a lot. There was nothing that the principal hadn't already known. This was really affirmation. And so when I got critiqued by the principal, went through the lesson, and then the next day she said, I have some feedback for you. I said, okay. I'm all scared to death. I'm in her office. I'm thinking this could be really bad. She says, so help me understand. Everyone says that one of the things you use in your classroom is a sense of humor. I didn't see that yesterday. And I felt like you were very strict and very formal. Is that how you are? Because all I've heard from the students is how much fun they have in your class. One of your students said they learn and they don't even think they're learning. I didn't see that yesterday. I'm like, well, I was nervous and I wanted to make sure I did this. And I went through a list of all the things that drew anxiety out of me. I was worried about how I wrote with the chalk. I was worried about blocking it. I was trying to make sure I had auditory and kinesthetic and visual and all these things. And she's like, okay, just do what you do. You're good. How about this? I'm just going to come by one day, just pop into your class. Can you live with that? Like, yeah, sure. Because she had done her thing, and so she popped in one day, and she said, just do your thing. So I did my thing, and afterwards she had some feedback, and feedback was actually really useful because it was the real me that she saw.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I'm sitting here while you're sharing all of that, trying to think about, is it the anxiety that has an impact? Or is it whatever causes the anxiety that's the true impact. And anxiety is just a feeling we have that comes as a result of worry, judgment, expected results, or any result.
Or fear that we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Fear, right? All of those things, all of those other things that are really what's causing the impact. And that anxiety is just
it's like a byproduct.
Well, I don't know. I mean, that was what I was trying to figure out. Is it because we feel this way, it creates anxiety, and because of that anxiety, it has this type of an impact? Or is it we're worried about these things, and that worry we know could have an impact, and that impact is what is causing anxiety? What do you think about that?
I think that's my one thing. It's not the thing that causes the anxiety. It's the worry around what?
The end result. The
results. Yeah, I would agree with that. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know. I just was thinking about that, and I'm like, well, what is anxiety really? And why? And is it the anxiety, or is anxiety just a way to define what you're feeling? And that it's the feelings around that, or the thoughts around that, that are the cause of the impacts that, as you mentioned earlier, that the impact is usually you get stuck, frustrated, overwhelmed, all those things that so many people deal with on a regular basis because they're worried about I think some people say it's because of anxiety. It could be. I also think that it could be about the fear, or the judgment, fear, worry, concern, anticipation of things that is really what is causing the impact. The anxiety is just some word we've chosen as a way to express what we're feeling, and that it's that word doesn't cause the impact. It's really the thoughts and ideas that we have in our heads of what might, could, would, should happen. And that's
I'm actually going through that right now because I have a meeting in 3 minutes that I have to get to.
So you're feeling a little anxious, or you're just worried about being late?
I'm worried about being late.
Okay. So given that, and we've both given our one thing, it's time to move on. So if you have a one thing that you would like to share, please feel free to share it in the comments. If you have thoughts about what Bob and I shared, we'd welcome those as well. If you are listening to the podcast, there's no place to comment. Join us in our Facebook group. Sculpt your business from chaos and confusion to confidence and control. So we look forward to seeing you there. If not, we will see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.-ish Eastern time, for our next episode of Today's Antidote.
That was really quick and smooth. That was impressive. Hey, whatever you do, folks, embrace the renegading you. We'll see you soon.
By the way, it's worth it. All right, everyone, go out and enjoy your day. We'll see you soon.
Hey, it's Sculpt Your Business time. That's right. You can go from chaos and confusion to confidence and control. And by the way, it took me almost 3 hours to get that down. That's hard to say if you try at home. Anyway, if you want, it's easier to say confidence and control. And imagine having it too, not just saying it, but doing it, living it. That's what you get when you work with Tom and me on your Sculpt the Business program, your business program, Sculpt Your Business. Go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. You'll see all the details there.